In three, two, one. Hello, listeners. Welcome to the podcast today, and we are joined by co-founder and CEO of Blinkist, Holger Seim. Blinkist connects 17 million readers worldwide to the biggest ideas of the most popular nonfiction books via audio and text. It is a book summarizing subscription service mobile app based out of Berlin, Germany, and it was founded in 2012. And the service provides summaries of over 3,000 best-selling nonfiction books, 15-minute reads for your short-term content consumption. Holger co-founded Blinkist with a vision to inspire people to never stop learning and grew it into a global brand with customers in more than 150 countries, having over 140 employees from 40 different nationalities. And they made their first million by year 4, now having 17 million readers. Without further ado, let's welcome Holger to the show. Holger, how are you, my friend?
Hey Chris, thanks for having me. I'm feeling good. I had a productive day here in Berlin. Already figured out it's your morning, my afternoon. So I'll be done with my day after that podcast, and I feel good about it.
Yeah, I'll just be getting things warmed up. So welcome to the show, my friend. I'm glad you're here, and thanks for taking time to come on. I want to first off, I really love the concept of Blinkist because I think with our attention spans these days, we need more things like Blinkist that can help us consume short bits of high quality content on a regular basis, whether we're commuting to work or on our workouts or and there's so many books. Like I used to walk around in the library at university, and I used to wish I could just like learn by osmosis and like suck up all the information in those books. But things like Blinkist do really well. They serve people really well that are busy in their day-to-day activities because you can consume 15 minutes of content of this book and that book and really kind of grasp the information from the book. So real quick, like tell us the background of Blinkist and where did it all come from?
Yeah, sure. But by the way, if you ever don't know what to do, you can start in our marketing department. You can sell Blinkist better than I can. Thanks a lot for that great introduction.
You're
Um,
welcome.
the we had the idea, my co-founders and I, because we had the same problem. Like we were out of university and we got into jobs. That was in 2011, and we were more busy and busy, and it was hard to fit in all the reading, all the learning that we wanted to. And we felt it's a pity that there's so many great books out there, so many things to learn, and we simply don't have the time or can't make the time to fit all of that in and to so we dig a little deeper and thought, well, is it really about time? Because technically it should only be about priorities, and learned that a lot of people don't know where to start. So discovery is a real big problem. And then it's also motivation. It's easier, to lean back, watch a Netflix episode or listen to something on Spotify. And it takes a little more effort to read something or to listen to something, to learning content. Um, and we thought, well, that's a huge universal problem that not just we have, and we felt like we can solve it. Back in 2011, smartphones were still on the rise. They weren't as established as today, and the app ecosystem was still fairly young. And we thought, well, more and more people shift content consumption from print or from their desktop to smartphones, to on the go. So we thought now's the time to establish formats that fit into those little commute times, waiting times when you're on the go, and help people to make meaningful use of that time. That was
Yeah.
the starting point back in 2011. It took us a couple of months to figure out the business model, really get behind the idea and quit our jobs. But we did so early 2012 and then started our journey.
And I love the idea that you guys are coming up with ideas in. So, as university friends, were you guys in university when you came up with the idea?
No, we were already in our
You're
job. So
finished.
we, we,
Okay.
we, we met in university. We started our first company in university. And that's where we kind of got to know each other, got to also discovered our passion for entrepreneurship and building stuff. And then after university, also during university, we made it a habit to frequently discuss about big problems that we're solving that that could be worthwhile to build a company upon. And we had tons of ideas, but none of the ideas were real. When we ended university, we didn't have a strong enough idea that we were ready to start a company on. And then it took us a while. So we started jobs, but then eventually the idea for Blinkist arrived. The first working title for that idea was Wait Mate, a mate that helps you fill your waiting time for something smart.
Okay.
And when that idea arrived, we knew, okay, it's a good idea, it's a strong problem, and it's the right time, because the smartphone, the increase in smartphone usage was just going through the roof, and we thought that the time for that idea has come, and then we were ready to leave our jobs and then start.
What were you guys studying in university?
It's a small town in Germany, in the middle of, like,
No,
close to
what
Frankfurt.
subject? What subjects?
So we have two of us were studying business administration. One was studying psychology, and the fourth one was studying informatics, so engineering, software
Nice.
development.
And then where did the name Blinkist come from?
We were looking for names, so finding a name was a pain, because you have all these great ideas, and then you look for the .com domain, and it's gone.
Right.
So it was a really long process, and one of the principles we were following, we wanted to find a name that we can connect to the format. So we did, what we did, we take knowledge and shorten it, and get the gist out of books, and deliver key insights for people. So we thought, how could we call that? Because we didn't want to call it a book summary, because it's technically not a summary. We don't take just chapter by chapter and then take out some of the paragraphs, but we really have people who read the title and then think about, what does the author want to tell us, and how can we present this in a way that it's easier to consume on the go. So it's more than a summary, and we wanted to give a name to that format. And so we thought about different things, and eventually some of us had the idea, well, there's this saying, in a blink of an eye. You can grasp something in the blink of an eye. And then we thought, well, blink, that would be a good form, a good name for that format. We could provide books in blinks, and every chapter is a blink that makes you get something in the blink of an eye. So that was the core. But then again, Blink and Blinks.com, the .com domain was gone. There was also a brand already with that name, and then we brainstormed a little bit how we could elaborate on that name, and then thought the economist for Blinks would be Blinkist. That was the metaphor. Pretty long shot, but eventually we fell in love with that name and used it.
Can you talk a little bit about that process? Because I've went through that process myself when I did a brand change, and it's grueling to find the right name, to go through that process. Many sleepless nights, especially if you have a time pressure behind you, of just sitting in bed thinking about, oh, this name, that name, this one's so good, but it's, there's competitors out there. This one's so good, the SEO is not that great. So what was your guys' process to go from WakeMate into Blinkist? Some of the brainstorming or mastermind you did throughout that process?
It was really not a really formalized, structured process. We really did a lot of open-ended brainstorming sessions where we just threw names on the wall, and there were things I remember was knowledge, but without the vocals. So KNLDG. Because what we do with knowledge, and we take out we shorten it so you can still get the gist. And because there's this saying, you can if you take out the vocals and only have the remaining letters, people still can read it, because the mind fills the gap. So we thought that was a nice metaphor. But then so we had crazy ideas like that, and this idea didn't make it, because we thought no one will know how to pronounce it in the end, or how to talk about it. So it wouldn't have worked probably. So we just tried to find metaphors for what we're doing. Providing knowledge, making knowledge more accessible, supporting discovery. There was also another thing was nutshell, in a nutshell. So we thought, should we be called Nutshell? That was another idea. So really just wild associations thrown on a whiteboard, and then we try to rank them by, is there a .com domain available? Can we register a trademark? Is that something that people will get when they hear it? Is it easy to talk about? What we did not realize for Blinkist, we were 4 German speakers. We did not realize, apparently for English speakers, a lot of them understand Blink list. So a lot of people
Yeah.
refer to Blinkist as Blinkist with the L, and even sometimes people who use it, so they are Blinklist, which
Uh-huh.
is which was not apparent, and that's not ideal, but I guess something we'll have to live with, and something will, as we grow and establish our brand and make it more of a household brand, it will go away, and there will be only Blinkist and not Blinklist.
So you guys, when you're starting from zero, did you invest any money in the company? I think you did did you did some funding as well?
Yes, yeah, we
Yeah.
are venture capital backed, and
Okay.
we were, we weren't, we didn't have a lot of savings when we started. We were just out of university, had a job for a couple of months, so we needed to, we couldn't bootstrap for a long time. Plus,
Right.
back then the ecosystem wasn't as bootstrap friendly. Right now, you find SaaS tools for everything. You can launch an app without requiring developers by using tools. You can leverage a lot of things. There wasn't back then the toolkit wasn't as great. Plus, we were inexperienced, so something we didn't know. So we thought from the beginning this needs to be an app. So we didn't even consider to start with a mailing list, for example. And because Mailchimp was around by then already, we could have just made it
Right.
a mailing list to see whether we can generate an audience. Also, podcasting wasn't a thing in 2012, so it was not an apparent option to us to just launch a podcast first.
Right.
Monetization was also for digital content wasn't as widely available. So we needed money quite soon. So we to talk to people in our network. Apparently, when you scream into the universe, something comes back. And I never knew, but when I reached out into my network and said, by the way, I want to start this company, does anyone know business angels? I got a lot of contacts back from people who knew business angels. And then one of my former bosses invested with a group of friends that he invests with, and I never knew that that he is a business angel. So through friends, family, and network, we found our first investors, and then took it from there.
Very nice. And so you're getting the funding for the company, and then you guys are setting up your office, and then what about the launching process for Blinkist?
So we started officially in June. So we started writing content, thinking about how the app should look like, and we were ready to launch in January the next year. So it took us kind of a little more than 6 months from real start to launch, which is in hindsight way too long. Like we overcomplicated things way too long. We contemplated so long how should the app look like, and then had a designer who came with fancy prototypes. And then we started developing, and eventually, way too late, we showed those prototypes, those mock-ups to users, and they're like, "Hey, can you click through and tell us what you see and what you think this is?" And then in user testing, the user said, "Well, I think this is a video app," because it was very visual, and so all these fancy designs weren't worth anything because they were misguiding users. So we had to go back to the drawing table and make it much easier, and then ultimately, what we launched was really basic. It was an app that lets you discover titles, lets you read them. We launched with text only back then, and then lets you purchase a monthly subscription. And we were excited, after 7 months of hard work. We were excited for launch day. We had the German TechCrunch site lined up to write an article about us, and then on day one, nothing happened. So really, maybe like our moms signed up, so we had kind of probably a 2-digit number of signups. Maybe it was 100 signups, and maybe 2 people who were nice enough to buy a subscription. So it was really slow start. But that was early 2013. Spotify and Netflix were still pretty small. Digital subscriptions for content weren't as consumer subscription wasn't a big thing yet. So pretty early days on everything. And also for really inexperienced founders who've never launched a product, who've never done, never built a consumer brand. So, and then from there, we really started a 1.5 year long journey of learning all of that. So
Yeah.
2013 and also the first half of 2014 was really tough. We were always at the edge of bankruptcy, hustling to get an investor to put in some more money, despite the numbers not being great. Trying
Hmm.
to hustle some signups together here and there, scaling a library, fixing the product, learning how to do digital marketing, and by mid of 2014, we had figured it out. We started to produce audio. We launched in fall 2014. We launched audio. We launched an updated pricing model with annual subscriptions. We had figured out how to track, how to attribute digital marketing, how to track this, all these things, and had figured out how to invest in paid marketing to kind of establish a growth engine. And then things started to look much better and be much more fun. And then since then it's been a constant growth journey for what is that, more than 6 years now.
Yeah. How long did it take you guys to hit profit?
Last year was our first profitable year.
Okay.
Before that, we never prioritized profit. We always prioritized growth. So
Growth.
we were, we had venture capital, and we always aligned with our investors. Let's focus on growth, and let's invest every euro we earn into growing our library, growing our team to move faster, to do more things at the same time, and most importantly, growing our user base by reinvesting in marketing.
So maybe the better question is then, and how long did it take you to get comfortable with not feeling like you're on the verge of bankruptcy?
So that was in by the end of 2015. So we
Okay.
saw things starting to work out end of 2014, and then 2015 was the first year where we had a clear plan in the beginning of what we want to do, and then that's what we did, and we reached the numbers we wanted to reach. So it was the first year where we really felt we are in control. This is a business model and a machine that we can consciously drive upwards.
Yeah.
And that's also when we end of 2015 when we raised our Series A with investors from Germany and the US, which was a really nice external confirmation. So I'd say, yeah, by the end of 2015, we had what they say product market fit, and we're in control.
Gotcha. So that time, that's 2.5 years or so between being comfortable and that and starting the company. Any doubts that came up for you guys thinking, oh, maybe we should go back to our jobs. This thing isn't going to work. What do we do? How long can we go on like this?
Yes, definitely. I was also personally, I was in a situation. I was doing a long distance relationship with my back then girlfriend, now wife. I was getting married in that period in 2014. So I was working in Berlin. She was working in Düsseldorf, which is a 5-hour train ride.
Hmm.
So there was sometimes a question, is it worth it? It was a sacrifice to go long distance, and um, yeah, so there were doubts, and still are. I think every entrepreneur I know, or most of them, they always have doubts. That's a lot of us, or at least I can speak for myself. I always think like, are we good enough? Am I good enough? Is this gonna last, or is this just pure luck? And I think that's healthy because that's what keeps me going. Always questioning, never being, always having a little doubt and never being happy. That keeps me going, and that keeps me striving for more and constantly improve myself. So I think to a certain extent, it's what you need to be successul.
It's true.
Uh, and I read a nice quote from Naval the other day on Twitter. He said, like, you have to choose between being happy or being successful, because success comes from not being happy, because that's what drives you to improve. And I found that there's some truth to it, even
Yeah.
though I would love to be successful and happy, but
There's got to be
being
a
not happy
medium.
about something usually pushes me on improving myself or changing circumstances, and then that leads to being more successful.
Any
So
anytime you had self-doubt, did you guys just go to your own product and look up 7 habits of highly effective people and reread the summary or
sometimes of course, I mean, we we ate and we eat our own dog food. But sometimes when you have, for me, it was also very important to sometimes disconnect. And I can't disconnect when I use my own product, because then I find a flaw, I find something that I want to improve, and then I'm in the business again. I think, oh damn, we need to improve this, we need to improve that. So um, yeah, I need to balance this. But I'm an avid reader, and that includes Blinkist, but also full books. So I take a lot of knowledge and a lot of inspiration from books. A lot of times I discover them on Blinkist, and I get the high level overview on Blinkist, and then for some books where I think there's a lot of value for me here, where I want to dig deeper, get more positions, more examples, and more of the author's story, then I go on and read the full book.
Nice, nice. So, and now you guys, according to the stat that I had that I read, you have around 140 people in the company
Yes.
from 40 different countries, right? 40 different
Yes.
nationalities.
Yeah.
Did you know beforehand that you really wanted to create this? And I think, what from I know as well is that you have a very, well, you used to have an office space pre-COVID, but it was very, people could work if from home if they wanted to, if they could work in the office, they can come and go, set their own hours, sort of thing. Did you know from the beginning you wanted to create a very diverse international type of company, or did it just kind of evolve from, you know, just from naturally?
Yeah. It evolved naturally, and then eventually we started to make it conscious. When we started
Mm-hmm.
Blinkist, all we wanted is to create a successful business that makes an impact in the world, and that was our drive. And we didn't think about the organization, what we need to do organizationally too much. We just thought about how can we build the right app, how can we scale content on high quality, how can we market it. These were the things, and we didn't think about how do we structure the organization. But after 2 years, we realized, by just letting culture and organizational structure happen unconsciously, that usually is a mistake, because whether you want it or not, you establish a culture, and certain structures and certain behaviors and certain processes get established. And if you don't think about it consciously, chances are high that you won't like the result, because you don't shape it proactively.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually in 2014 we realized, well, we left corporates to build our own business, and then we're building a not so nice organization, and that's when we said, okay, we can't just make financial success and reaching a lot of customers a business goal. We also want to make it a goal to build to be an employer that people love to work for and that we love to work for, because that's where we go every day. So that's when we prioritized organization, structure, processes, culture, all these things, and that's when also like the diversity piece. Berlin is a very diverse city. It's a very international city. A lot of people come there from all over the world, and also a lot of people apply from all over the world, and we relocate a lot of people. So that was in the beginning, to be honest, also just it happened. We didn't consciously set a goal. We want to have 40 different nationalities. It happened, but as we thought about organization more intentionally, as we grew, we realized that's a skill. That's that makes us stronger. And it's not just also I learned along the way, it's not just about hiring a bunch of people from different countries, but then it's also about building an inclusive workplace, because
Mm-hmm.
those people come with different experiences and different perspectives, and we need to make sure that all of them are heard. And so that a lot of stuff started unconsciously, but then once we realized it, we made a conscious effort to change the bad things and keep the good things.
Yeah. So, and I think if I'm correct, Holger, like the partnerships that you have, well, you have some partnerships with authors of the books, but you guys don't need copyrights because it's an individual summary, a content creator's summary of the book, right? That they put on audio. Is that correct?
Yes, and as I said before, it's not even a summary. It's really an original work. We have,
Uh-huh.
smart people read the book and then think about what is it, what are the key insights here, and how do we present them in a way that people
Mm-hmm.
can get the gist on the go in audio and text. So there's a lot of originality in it and a lot of value add, and that that makes it that moves it puts it into a fair use bucket when you like there's copyright law and certain things are infringing copyright and certain things are fair use, and our content is considered fair use.
Gotcha.
That being said, while we are allowed to do what we do legally, it's still important for us to to work with authors, to work with publishers, because we didn't start Blinkist to cannibalize books, to say like, okay, in 10 years, no one needs to read books anymore. They can read Blinkist. We realized there's as I said in the beginning, there's a discoverability problem with books, and there's a motivation problem. And we believe that a service like Blinkist, short form content, can solve both. You can, with a much lower barrier, dip your toes into different areas and discover easier. We get more signals from what people like, and then can recommend, match the right person with the right content at the right time more easily. And dipping your toe into something for 15 minutes is a lower barrier. And then once you realize this book is really helping me, then you have a much higher motivation to go on and read or listen to the full book, because you already know there's value in there. This is going to, change my life or help me in my job, or it's just interesting and I want to dig deeper. So yes, that's why it's important for us to build partnerships with the creators of the underlying works, to just be seen as a partner.
How many books do you guys have on file now?
With more than 4,000 titles.
4,000. And then if you do create a partnership, what does that usually look like? Like, do you guys contact the author and talk to them about, your service and what you're doing, or do they contact you guys and say, hey?
So we go via the publishers, because technically publishers are the right holders. So authors, they give all the rights to publishers, or most authors, and then even if they wanted to work with us, they need to talk to their publisher. So we proactively reach out to publishers, tell them what we're doing, tell them that we would like to work with them. And the ones we're working with, we have partnership agreements. So we share a small pool of our revenue with them, to let them, benefit, to let the publishers, but most importantly, the authors benefit from the revenue we're generating. That is partly due to their works, because we're benefiting that, the underlying works are, have a certain, how do I say, that they are known, and then people, want to dip their toe into something first. So that's definitely something that we recognize, and also want to, that's why we're happy to share some of the revenues, and in return we get the right to use the original cover. So we're not allowed to use that without a marketing or partnership agreement with publishers, and that's kind of the deal.
Nice. And you're starting to have short form, or actually you have already short form content for podcast as well. Is that correct?
Yes, we started that in November last year. We launched shortcasts, which is similar to what we're doing with books, just with podcasts, because there's a ton of podcasts out there, 1 to 2 hours long. There's so many good podcasts, but you don't have the time to read all of them, and you don't have the time to discover what you really want to. You don't have time to listen to all of them, not read, and you don't have the time to discover what you want to listen to next. So we thought that's what we're good at. That's what our brand stands for, and it's a strong need and a big market. So we tapped into that. We launched with great shows like the Happiness Lab or Revisionist History. We'll soon launch Cautionary Tales and Against the Rules. There's really great shows on file already, and we have a lot of other shows lined up. So really excited about this new format.
Nice. And that's exciting to see. One thing I always thought in the podcast market, there's very much a lack of short form content. All these podcasters, there's plenty of long form content, but I think that's a very valuable service, because again, just like our short attention spans and busy people, we don't want to commit to an hour long podcast, or especially the 3 hour long podcast. I love these, just like Naval, you mentioned earlier, they're coming out with the 10-minute, clips that are saying boom, boom, boom. And it's like, wow, while I'm waiting in line to mail my box or whatever, I could soak up, 15 minutes of Naval Ravikant or anybody that's putting out short form content.
Yeah.
That's why, again, why I love this concept of Blinkist, why I think it's so powerful. What do you guys predict for the future for Blinkist for the next 5 to 10 years? You're going to keep growing it out and get as
Stellar
many.
growth, obviously. So no, we're coming. Like we had a challenging year 2020 because it was a tough year for audio because especially for short form audio. I don't know if you've seen
Same.
how what happened to your shortcast to your podcast stats, but we definitely saw less usage because people tend to listen to audio while they're on the go, while they're commuting, and we saw those commute spikes. They were gone. So we had a little blip in terms of growth last year. Didn't grow as fast as we were used to in the previous years and as we wanted to. But we already saw it coming back end of year. Now we have a very strong January. So despite people still being in lockdown, people are changing their habits and finding new pockets of engagement with audio. So these headwinds go away slightly. And once the pandemic is gone, we'll have strong tailwinds because there was a strong tailwind for more and more people engaging with audio content to learn. So this, if you filter out the pandemic, we're riding a really strong macro trend and a really big wave with our bet on audio. There's a strong need for people to keep learning, to constantly keep learning, a strong desire, which we have a solution for. Our solution is not perfect. There's a ton of things we're working on to improve, more content, better discovery and recommendation mechanisms to match the right person with the right content at the right time, gamifying it a little bit more to help people with building habits and committing to something and then following through on it. So there's tons of things for us to work on, to improve. But we see, in all the years we've always moved our core metrics, which is engagement, number of active customers, or we call them monthly engaged learners, and customers overall. And we'll continue to do that for the next 5 to 10 years. Our ambition is to build out Blinkist into a really globally renowned consumer brand for lifelong learning that helps people to fit more learning into their daily lives and to make it a routine.
Holger, what have been 2 or 3 of the most profound books that you've seen from your own content from Blinkist that you listened to and you thought, wow, that is really, really shocking, or changed your life or changed your business in some way?
My favorite all-time nonfiction book is Mindset from Carol Dweck. And I discovered that through Blinkist. So I got the gist on Blinkist, but then I also went on and read it in full. It's about, it explains the concept of a growth and a fixed mindset. And when you have a fixed mindset, you think that you're good at certain things and you're not good at other things. So you believe in talent, and that's how you judge things. If you try something new and it doesn't work, then people think I'm not good at it, I can't do it, so they stop trying. And with a growth mindset, you approach things like, I can do anything, but it requires work. I need to put in the work to learn it. And all of us have both mindsets, and we approach certain situations with a growth mindset and others with a fixed mindset. And by being more aware, having higher awareness of these concepts, I started to realize on my own when I would approach situations with a fixed mindset, even for myself, also with employees. Sometimes I would have a very fast belief that someone is not good at something, and then I didn't give that person a chance to grow and prove me wrong. And I kind of had this, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy of me not trusting that the person has the talent to do it, and then it was set up for failure. So I also, in relation with others, I could spot those tendencies and then can remind myself, approach this with a growth mindset and not with a fixed mindset. So that was probably the one book that changed my life and the most. Another one of the more recent books that I really, really appreciated was No Rules from Reed Hastings, the Netflix founder and CEO.
Oh, wow.
And he talks about, he writes about Netflix culture, how they approach things. And that's very inspiring. And it's not a blueprint on how I want to build the Blinkist culture, because Netflix culture is very ruthless. It's a very extreme culture. but it was very inspiring to, to realize if you say yes to something, you also need to say yes to others. To give you an example from Netflix, they have a culture of freedom and accountability. So everyone needs to have, you can work from anywhere. You can, you set your own pace. You're free to do what you want to do, but you're also accountable for results. So there's no micromanagement at Netflix. No one telling you what to do and how to do it. Lots of freedom. You can take as many vacation days as you want, but there is accountability that you deliver your results. And if you don't deliver, there's the keeper test. So, and it says like good performance gets a great package. So if you perform good, they kick you out. They want exceptional performance.
Right.
They do a keeper test frequently where you say like where they ask managers to ask themselves, if this employee would leave tomorrow, would I be upset, and would I try everything that I can to make him or her stay? And if you don't answer that question with yes, then let that person go.
Wow.
So it's ruthless, right? You're constantly, you can do what you want, but you're held very accountable, and you're constantly on spot, and a lot of people are constantly afraid to lose their jobs. So that's the downside. But realizing that freedom and full freedom and accountability can only come with full accountability, and can only come with being ruthless about only keeping top performers. Seeing that connection was very inspiring, because what happens probably in most of the companies, employees ask for a lot of freedom, and they ask for the good part of the equation, a lot of freedom and doing things the way they want them to do.
But
and
not the accountability.
They also ask in an abstract way. They also fine with being held accountable. But then in reality, and looking at the Netflix example, what that means in the end, if you really think it through, that's not everyone likes that culture. I don't like that culture. I don't want to have I think I want work to be, to a certain extent, a safe space, and not a space that constantly adds stress to your life. So I want a better balance. So maybe less ruthlessness, but also then there's a little less freedom and a little bit more involvement from leaders, maybe.
Very cool.
So that was another more recent example of, and again, that discovered that on Blinkist, and then went on to read the full book.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned, I was actually just reading about fixed mindset and growth mindset 2 days ago, in Stephen Kotler's new book, The Art of Impossible. And he talks about that. And I believe he mentions Carol's the author, right? Carol's book,
Carol
Mindset. Yeah. And it was really interesting. But it's absolutely, it's fascinating, but very true. So, okay, Holger, I think we're going to wrap up there. Do you have anything else you'd like to leave the listeners with before we sign off?
No, obviously give Blinkist a try. It's really, and maybe something like not a lot of people, but I hear that again and again. Some people look at Blinkist with a skeptical, thinking like, oh, we're dumbing down on fiction. It's about replacing books, and I love books so much, but it's the opposite. We're the gateway track to books and learning. And so give it a try and give it a chance, and then see the positive aspects of it.
I think it's a fascinating concept for sure. If the listeners want to reach out and learn more about you or Blinkist, where's the best place they can go?
I'm on LinkedIn. I don't Twitter. I don't tweet a lot. I'm on LinkedIn. People can connect on LinkedIn, reach out. Also on Clubhouse these days. Let's see how long I last.
Yeah. Me too.
Quite time consuming. Let's see how long that lasts for me. I believe in the concept. I think they will grow a lot, but it won't be a big part of my content diet for now, because it's time consuming.
And then of course Blinkist.com for those that want to check out Blinkist, right?
Of course, yeah.
Or on your mobile app. Cool. Okay, Holger, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
And listeners, we're going to wrap up there. Thank you guys for tuning in once again, and we'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.